Guys, hi! Welcome to MystiveDev. I'm Bobby, the lead 3D artist of Alan Sharp, Wipe Toilet Plague, and a lot of other low-poly video games. I've worked for clients doing work as a freelancer over the internet. I'm also the digital marketing specialist of UX Labs. And today we're going to talk about level design techniques which are used in the industry and which can help you boost your game, create awesome environment, awesome levels, and provide your players an amazing, unforgettable experience. Let's get right into it. The first thing we're gonna talk about are your core mechanics. Core mechanics are a set of goals which a player must complete in order to finish your level. All of the games usually introduce those core mechanics at the beginning, the first level, the tutorial level, and they introduce them either in direct or subtle ways. So it's very important the player to know what the game expects him to do. And he needs to learn those core mechanics, which we'll go through how he can learn them a little bit later in this video. But he needs to know how to play the game. And the first thing you could start with is introducing the first goal via cinematic or a cutscene or even a quest system. The second thing, which is very important and a lot of beginner indie game developers do not even think about it, is the critical path. So I'm not talking here about the critical path in game development, like I talked in the previous video. This critical path term is specific for level design. Critical path is the path a player must take in order to finish your game. So that means most of the developers focus on this path because either way the player must go in order to finish the level, and most of the work is focused there. However, another interesting thing, and which I love even more, is the non-critical paths. So you have a main road which goes throughout the entire level and the player must take this road to get to the end of it. There are other non-critical paths like smaller roads from the side which a player can choose to take and see what's at the end of those roads. So what's very important about the non-critical paths? A lot of beginner indie devs make this mistake, like I'm gonna put this non-critical path, this road on the side for the player just to see how good does the environment look and so on. When you use non-critical paths, it's very important to remember this thing. Non-critical paths usually need to have some kind of reward if the player chooses to go that way. We as humans love rewards. So it's very important to put at the end of the non-critical path, which is not related to the main level, maybe a loot or a weapon or an item, or it couldn't even be like an item. It could be a cutscene or a scripted event or something which could provide some value to the player. Like he will be thankful for taking this path. So then the other thing I would like to talk about level design is the usage of light. Light is very important. I'm not talking about overall lighting and so on. I'm talking about some subtle nuances which you can use in order to guide your player. It's very important to guide the player throughout the level. How can you do that? So let's say you are in a dark room. I mean utterly dark. And you can't see even a single thing. And suddenly a light pops up. Thanks to evolution, people are immediately attracted to it. We will immediately look at that light. So, for example, you're building a level design on a mountain, it's dusk, and you're creating several roads. If you add a swaying lantern, a subtle swaying lantern on the side of the main road, that could guide the player and tell him psychologically, subconsciously, yeah, that's the main road you should take. But remember, if he takes the other roads, those are non-critical paths, and you can add some kind of achievement or reward at the end of them. Another great tip for level design is we learn to recognize certain figures. For example, if you see a door or a gate or an entrance, something that resembles similar to that, you know, this one is used for walking through it. So a lot of level designers use this technique, which is called framing. What is framing? Framing is called like that because it basically resembles a frame of a picture. And I'm gonna get into it a little bit more. For example, you have a road which is clouded in fog maybe, and the player cannot clearly see if that's a road, if he can go there or not. But if you add, for example, a tree on one side, a tower on the other side, and you add like a hanging rope above it, it closely resembles some kind of entrance. And that's the frame. You have the tower, you have the tree, you have the rope, and you have the ground, and subconsciously tells the player, yeah, this is a road, you can go that way. Another interesting thing which is quite beneficial for your player and the overall user experience is giving precise, clear information to the player that some sort of item is actually interactable. Whether it's going to be a flickering overlay of the item or an icon which is contrasting to the overall environment, it doesn't matter. What matters is that the player should instantly know that this thing here is interactable. This is called Spatial UI. Spatial UI appears in a relevant position around the interactable object. For example, you approach some interactable item and you see a white contrasting hand icon just above it. It immediately shows the player that yes, this item here is interactable. One useful tip on Spatial UI would be having one icon above the interactable item seen from the distance, and another icon which turns into a hand or a button or any icon that shows the player how he can interact with it once he gets close enough. The next thing I would like to talk about is introducing your core mechanics in a more subtle way. For example, do not put a lot of windows on screen like this thing does that, you can use this like that. So this is very frustrating for a lot of players. But what you can do is introduce them in a more subtle way. Like for example, you want the player to know how to climb. So climbing is like part of your core mechanic of the game. So you can just simply add like a small slope where a player can climb. Just give a brief window showing which button to press to climb. And if the player fails, do not kill him. Make him fall down and get up, and he can try again. So he can try until he succeeds. That's a more subtle way of introducing your core mechanics. When designing your level, especially when you are modeling and texturing your assets, it's very important to use a lot of references. We as human beings tend to remember a lot of things. However, if you don't have a photographic memory, most of the people tend to remember overall shape. We don't remember tiny details. So it's very important to have references when you're designing your worlds. For example, you can use concept art from the internet, or you can use real life photos where the best artist of us all is the nature. So remember, use a lot of references and they can help you a lot when creating your level design. Another technique which is very popular among developers is blocking, or also known as whiteboxing. So what is blocking? Blocking is basically putting cubes and cylinders and designing your level in that way, like with simple shapes, in order to establish the critical path and the non-critical path a player must take. A lot of indie game developers avoid this step because, of course, yeah, it takes a lot of time, but hear me out, it's very beneficial. Why is that? Because if you have the critical path and the space planned out, it will be much easier for you later to create the level design and swap those simple shapes with your assets. So you can put, for example, cubes like for trees or fences, or basically anything where you don't want your player to go. And you can always test even from the beginning. Just put your character and go throughout the level while it's blocked out, and see even if the size is correct according to your character, if the level is too huge or too small, and you need to block out the level until you are quite satisfied with it. After you're satisfied, you can proceed with swapping those basic shapes with your assets. Now let's talk about optimization, guys. So the next thing you need to keep an eye out is the Dracula count. Unlike the poly count, Dracula count is very stressful because you can keep an eye on the poly count, of course. Of course it's important, but we are in an era where millions and millions of polygons are rendered in real time on the screen. But that's not the same for the Dracula count. It depends on the platform you're targeting. Dracula is a call to the graphics API to draw objects. Having a lot of separate objects with different materials in a single frame can heavily affect your performance. And in order to save your game, to optimize it, you need to maybe use one single material for all the models, or you can use like a trim texture or atlas map, or even like create one material and just manipulate with the UVs to give it a little bit of difference on the models, and then you can merge them into a single model. Merging them into a single model can greatly reduce your draw cost, but there's always a but. It has its downfalls. For example, you have a large forest and each tree has its own draw call, right? And you want to merge those trees to reduce the draw call count. Before I get further why that is not great, I would like to talk about occlusion culling. Occlusion culling is a process of removing objects that are not seen by the camera from the frame. What this means is that anything beyond the frame of the camera will not be rendered out. The same goes for occlusion clipping, which is a process by which the polygons that extend past the camera are picked or culled. One thing to see this in action, we can see it in Unreal Engine 4, where you can just start the game and eject from the player, and you will notice that a lot of things behind the player, things which are not on the screen, will not be rendered out. Okay, let's get back to the merging part. So if you merge a lot of models like the trees from the forest and they become a single model, the problem here is that the occlusion culling won't work. Why is that? Because when you see even a single tree on the camera, it's part of a single model, so all the trees will need to be rendered. That's why we need to have careful, smart and planned merging of objects with a single material in order not to affect performance. The last thing for today I would like to talk about is LOD, or level of detail. LOD is a technique of reducing mesh complexity as objects become more distant from the viewer. For example, you have like an NPC which is 30,000 polygons when you're in front of him, and when you go a little bit far from him, he can change to 15,000 polygons. Or as you go even more further, you can trigger a second LOD which will reduce it maybe to 7,050. So basically the LOD reduces the poly count, and usually a rule of thumb is to reduce the polygons by double with every level of LOD. And LOD is quite useful because, for example, let's take a sphere. Sphere has a lot of polygons. It needs to be smooth. And as you go away from the sphere, as the viewer distances himself, you can use LOD to reduce this poly count. And when you are very, very far away, when the sphere should look like a dot, the player won't recognize whether it's a sphere or a speckle or a simple cube. And that, if you use LODs, it will really help on your game, because the PC won't have to draw a lot of polygons. So these were the level design techniques I'd love to talk about. Hopefully they will help you in your game progress. I know that level design is a pretty large topic and there's a lot to cover and we cannot do it in one video. But if you like, we can do a part 2 video, continue on with new strategies, new hints and tips about level design. I'd love to hear your opinion, so you can write it down in the comments. If you need any advice, suggestion, or you just need to talk, maybe you can write to me on Facebook or on Twitter. I'm under MystiveDev. And if you like this video, guys, please like, subscribe, so we can grow an amazing community. Have a great day. Bye.